you have done about 2 billion worth of sales in this market. What's your advice for real estate agents who want to achieve the same?
Apart from waiting 20 years to do it, since 2003, the market has changed dramatically. Biggest change for me is then we were selling sand. I think now we've got a much better story to tell.
Luxury, high net worth individuals. What are the key things we need to look for when you're selling a property?
Keep the dream alive. I'm coming to Dubai. I've got 10, 20, 30 million dirhams or dollars to spend. And I've got certain expectations about what that experience looks like.
How technology plays a role in curating that experience.
Tristy, you're talking to someone who grew up without a mobile phone. I remember sitting in cars with my clients, opening up a map and saying, right, this is where we're going. And everything you can do now on an iPad. Look, I came to the Arista office. I was introduced to your experience center. Yeah, it was incredible. You know, the sound, the smells, the screen, sort of almost three-dimensional movie that you see. So you really felt like you were in the building, you were in the house. I think this is transforming our business.
Hello, I'm Shrishti and welcome to Beyond Luxury by Arista Properties. Today we are exploring how to effectively sell a luxury off-plan development in Dubai's ever-evolving market. Joining me is Mr. Steven Leckie, a recognized real estate specialist with over 20 years of experience. Steven has facilitated over $2 billion of real estate transactions, focusing on off-plan opportunities for overseas investors. Steven, it's great to have you here.
Thanks so much for inviting me. It's real pleasure to meet you for the first time.
So Steven, since you have witnessed Dubai real estate highs and lows, and we have seen quite a change since 2003, what are your key takeaways?
Look, the market has changed dramatically since I started. We went from there was no legislation, there was no controls. People were putting 5% down, giving the money to Emaar to take a piece of land, and then drawing what the building would look like on a napkin or whatever, and then going out to the market and saying, right, this is what we're selling. Mm-hmm. And so the biggest change for me is that then we were selling sand. Literally, it was all sand. Everywhere, even where we're sitting right now, was sand.
Yes.
And I think now we've got a much better story to tell in that there is a lot more infrastructure. The legislation that's been introduced into the property market to safeguard investors and obviously developers, and even us brokers, we're being legislated. We have to get the RERA, etc. Before I even started, there was no RERA. This was something that was introduced, I think, in around 2006 or 2007.
Buying an off-plan versus buying ready-to-move in unit. We obviously have seen that there is a certain audience which likes to purchase property, which is just absolutely ready. You pack in your suitcase and then you move in the next day. And off-plan is obviously great for the ROI, but there are other reasons which are not so known. So what do you think why it has always been attractive? I mean, we have so many millionaires and billionaires moving to Dubai. We tend to think that if we have people who are consistently moving, why wouldn't they choose a property which is ready to move in compared to an off-plan?
People see the attraction of capital growth during the construction period. That's one of the reasons. They like the payment plans. There's always a reasonably sensible payment plan for them to spread the payments. That's not always the reason why people are buying off-plan, but that's one of the reasons. There's more choice with off-plan. The only properties that you can buy which are ready are ones that someone wants to sell. Whereas with off-plan, you go directly to a developer or via your broker, you will find a lot more choice. So you can choose which floor you want to be on, which view, what size, etc. You don't always have that choice when it's a ready property. The other thing I think also is that the quality of properties has improved dramatically over the last 20 years, and it's getting better and better. So when we talk about luxury property, I think maybe I would struggle to think of any building 20 years ago which was truly luxury. Maybe one. As we go through the property market as it has been evolving over the last 20 years, you're seeing more and more properties which can be considered as luxury. And this is one of the issues that we have with luxury property at the moment, is that there is a shortage of it. As you say, millionaires coming into the market, a few billionaires, but mainly millionaires and centimillionaires are coming into the market, and they need something which is high end because that's what they are used to in their own country, and they have the money. So I think there isn't a lot of choice for people. But we are seeing more and more developers like Arista with their Wadi villas, etc., who are coming into the market, which is answering a demand from these high net worth individuals and even people who are living here who are increasing their wealth and making larger demands and bigger demands on the quality of the property they want to buy.
What are the top 5 areas?
Obvious areas, Palm Jumeirah, which is waterfront, golf resorts like Jumeirah Golf Estates, Meydan, where you're finding sort of lots of space, luxury, but very close to the business areas. Something you can't actually own. I've always considered Meydan. Meydan for me is like a mirror image of Jumeirah. You can't buy in Jumeirah. You can't buy a villa in Jumeirah anyway, apart from on the waterfront. So now you can buy something which is just as close to the business areas as Jumeirah is, and you've got the space and the land, etc., and larger villas. What other areas? Downtown is an obvious area. And I think we've got some up-and-coming areas like Jumeirah Pearl, the Bulgari Island, etc.
Great. About Meydan, you mentioned few things that makes it attractive. Would you call it like an urban community?
I think Meydan its location is perfect. It's, as I say, it's very close to the financial district. It's very close to Business Bay. Who are working in these areas and have businesses in these areas are looking for large family homes,
Correct.
which they cannot find close to where their offices are. And this is really the closest option for them. Anything in Meydan at the moment, and District 11 specifically, we have an offer now of high-end luxury properties. I would call it a very gated, secure community. Infrastructure in Meydan, amazing.
Yeah.
Big, wide roads, very little traffic at the moment. But the horse racing track, which
yes, exactly.
if you look at anyone close to a horse racing, you tend to find luxury properties, and that's what you find here. And then, of course, the obvious one is that it's royal land. It's very close to royal land. It's where the sheikhs live.
Meydan's location, it's obviously in close proximity to Trade Center, to Business Bay. No traffic, no trouble, absolute perfect views of the fireworks. It's really a great choice when you don't want to live in a very saturated community and you want to avoid traffic and you don't want so many people. It's green, it's peaceful. It's really the future of what Dubai wants to build when it comes to sustainable communities.
In Meydan, before all the building was happening, it was a camel center. I don't know if you know this, but District 1 and even around the racetrack, it was all camels. Camels were like literally roaming around in that area when I first got here. If you want to go and see a camel, go to Meydan.
All natural landscape.
But I think the bird sanctuary is still there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's still there. To sell a luxury property, obviously you need high net worth individuals, which are also very distinctive in nature. What tactics should a broker use to sell a luxury off-plan property to a high net worth individual?
When you analyze the type of people that are going to be buying a luxury property, those people are very busy people. They are used to running companies, running large corporations, etc. And buying a house is pleasure. That's the pleasure in their life. Like buying a very nice car, but also buying a house. And so you have to understand that you have to make the whole experience pleasurable, of course. And to do that, it's about being knowledgeable, incredibly knowledgeable about what you're selling, being able to introduce comparative market analysis, CMAs, which are, this property is here, but also we have this other property here, and this is how they compare. So you need to be offering choice, and you need to be selling the status and the quality and the materials, etc., architects, landscapers, all these elements that these people are used to in their lives. And we need to find a connection between that luxury property and their buying reasons. So important to really keep that understanding of what they are looking for. What I see agents doing is someone says, okay, I want to buy a 5-bedroom house. And then they just start throwing properties
throwing numbers and
throwing numbers, throwing properties.
Yes.
This is what you want. This is where you want to be, etc. And I don't think that's really the way to do it. I think you have to be a luxury designer shop. It's all about the experience. you're spending a lot of money and it needs to be pleasurable. Keep the dream alive, as they say. Someone said, right, I'm coming to Dubai. I've got 10, 20, 30 million dirhams or dollars to spend. And I've got certain expectations about what that experience looks like. And it's our job as real estate agents to fit in with what those expectations are. The only way you're going to find that out is discussing what the client wants and then trying to find a solution that works for them.
Great. So let me put it this way. If we were to summarize it, that what are the top 3 things and top bad things a broker can do in selling a luxury off-plan developments?
Know the job, know the business, know what's available out in the market, for sure. So product knowledge, that's so important. I think the truth.
Okay, so that's number 2.
Yes, the truth. Mm-hmm. Always say the truth, because these guys can smell a lie a mile away.
So number 1 is product knowledge.
Yes.
Number 2 is tell the truth.
Yes.
And what would be the number 3?
I think match the amenities to whatever their expectations are. So what I mean by that is that not all luxury properties are created equal. And there are some which may be using brands that are not normally associated with property and that type of thing. I would be much more focused on the materials that are being used, who the landscaping artist is, who's the architect, who is building whatever the building is, whether it be a villa or an apartment building, etc. Those are the most important things. Obviously, location is important, but we have to understand the nuances of that particular project.
So do you think for a broker, it's important to highlight the partners which a developer might have? For example, at Arista, the kind of partners we have on board, the architects we have on board, is it really important for a broker to highlight that?
Just naming names doesn't make any difference. You've got to know what these people have done before. You've got to look into their history. You've got to understand why a company like Arista have chosen these people and what value they bring to the project themselves. And if you can understand all of that, you will be elevating yourself way above all the other agents that he might be talking to or they might be talking to as a family. I think it's so important just to get into the detail.
So details are important for sure.
With high net worth individuals, I think details are incredibly important. There's nothing wrong with being caught out that you don't know something, but don't try and make it up. Know all the facts, have the story.
Be honest.
Be honest.
Yeah.
We always come back to the same thing. People buy from people. And if that person, the one thing that person has probably difficulty is he doesn't have much time, but he also doesn't trust many people. So he needs to trust you. You need to build trust incredibly fast with someone like that.
Yep.
And you need to be very honest and you need to know all the facts because that's what he's used to or she's used to, of course.
Steven, we spoke about the top 3 things that a broker must do while selling a luxury off-plan property in Dubai. What about the 3 worst things a broker should never do while selling the same luxury off-plan in this market?
Turn up late to the meeting.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think not know their subject. So
not
important.
Knowing the product. So when you say knowing the product, it's obviously about me knowing my product. So if I'm at Arista, I should be knowing about Wadi Villas. But do you think it's also equally important to know about the competitors, about the nearby projects? So if Wadi Villas is in District 11 Meydan, and let's say if I'm a broker, I have all the details about my project, what is great, it's an excellent location. It's a beautiful project. We have great partners like HBA and Cooper's Hill. The construction is on time. How important it is for a broker to know about what's going around?
One of the things that I will do with my clients is get them in our car. Mm-hmm. And I will bring them first of all to Arista. And I will listen to the Arista presentation that they give to my client. And then there will be questions that my client will ask, and I will get a sense of what they're looking. I'll get a much better sense of what they're looking for, and then maybe I can then very quickly understand who else I should maybe showing that property to, or showing that client, introducing that client to another property. So I think we have to be very flexible, but that comes from having product knowledge. If you know, if you understand your client, what they're looking for, then you should be able to maybe come up with 2 or 3 options that will work for them. And that's you can do that on the fly as well, but you still need to have that knowledge. So doing your research prior to the meeting, understanding a lot more about what the client's expecting before you meet them, and then making sure that their time with you is best spent.
Great. I remember that you mentioned that luxury is about experience, right? We all say that. We all have heard that luxury is a lifestyle. Luxury is about curating an experience around. So what do you think? How is it really practically possible to deliver excellent experience for a luxury buyer, and what a real estate agent can do to deliver that experience?
You've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to show that you have the confidence in what you're proposing to that client. You've got to understand everything about that project and everything about the actual house that they are considering buying, or the apartment that they're considering buying. So you need to know sizes, you need comparables, you need to maybe say, oh, okay, that building in New York that you know about, yes, okay, well, this is like that building, etc. I think having an overview of the luxury market, not just in your own locality, but maybe where these people are coming from, and having that kind of product knowledge is very useful.
Technology plays a very important role nowadays in curating that experience. Back in the days, we had lesser of these high-tech devices. A lot of it was sold on paper. You have these brochures, people in person talking and explaining everything, writing down on paper. Now we usually send out PDFs.
Tristy, you're talking to someone who grew up without a mobile phone. Okay.
Yes.
So we didn't have mobile phones when I was in my 20s.
How are you able to deliver luxury experience to your client, or selling an off-plan property by a luxury developer?
You couldn't do it. You need a mobile phone. You need a car. You need Google Maps. I remember sitting in cars with my clients, opening up a map and saying, right, this is where we're going. And now, of course,
and
you don't
pointing
have,
out the
and
location.
everything you can do now on an iPad. So technology has helped everyone incredibly. Artificial intelligence, AI, etc., ChatGPT. I think this is transforming our business.
One key thing I would like to add when it comes to technology is, since there are so many real estate developers, I believe there are 500 plus region right now, and everybody is building offices in the key areas. There's so many ongoing projects. It becomes incredibly difficult or challenging for a buyer to identify that which is a luxury developer and which is not. Because everybody is out there saying that, hey, we're a luxury real estate developer. We have come up with this ultra luxury project. And when a real estate broker is trying to sell these properties, saying just luxury isn't enough.
No.
So a developer definitely needs to go a few extra miles and prove that this is a luxury project. Combining it with technology, I believe when you're curating your space, when you're curating real estate office, when you're displaying your models, your floor plans, your renders, do you think using technology as a tool to do the storytelling better or to convey the story in a better way is possible?
Look, I came to the Arista office last week, and I was introduced to your experience.
Yes.
I would call it an experience center.
Yes,
And
we call it an experience center.
You do?
As well.
Okay,
Yes.
well, I would call it an experience center. It's like something you would go to Disneyland for, etc. It was, it was incredible. So you really felt like you were in the building, you were in the house, you were within the project itself. And I was looking around, and at some point, I'm pretty sure I actually thought, oh, there is a table there, but there isn't a table. It was very nicely done, very well done. Even the smell, I think you introduced some kind of smell, didn't you?
Yes, so we have introduced different aromas. So when you are walking in the community, and the kind of aromas you would sense, depending on the flora and the fauna we have in Wadi Villas, that's the kind of aromas you would experience. You get the same feel, you have the great audiovisual experience. At the same time, you would get that aroma as if you're walking in the community, as if you're walking in Wadi Villas. So that's what we try to achieve, and that's exciting. We've got great feedback, and I'm quite happy that you're amazed that by as well.
I mean, one of the, you can really differentiate developers from those that are probably going to deliver on what they talk about, and those that are just in it for the money. I know everybody's trying to make money. We're all trying to make some money as developers and brokers. Even our clients want to make money on the property.
Yeah.
But you get a sense when you walk into a developer's office whether they really are customer focused or they're just thinking about the pounds, shillings, and pence, the dollars, the dirhams, etc. And that sense is a way where you have this sort of sense of arrival. The developer has got the models out. They've really gone to town on like the whole customer experience, and it's so important because you don't have a building. You don't have a building that you can actually walk into and say, right, this is it.
Yes.
That's a very expensive thing to do, and
doing a show model or a show house.
It just doesn't exist. So brochures, great. But if you can create some kind of experience that the client will have once they own that property and walk across the threshold through the front door, I think that's incredibly important. And yeah, look, I haven't really thought about the technology behind it. But yeah, I can see that, the sound, the smells, the screen, the sort of almost three-dimensional movie that you see on the screens, etc. It's a great experience. I don't know that many developers are doing that, really. The worst thing you can do is, as a developer, as far as I'm concerned, is meet a client, say, what's your budget? Oh, these are the floor plans. This is what we have for
That's
sale.
not luxury
Thanks
at all.
very much.
Yes.
Exactly. But that's what a lot of developers are doing because they're very poorly trained and they're in a rush. And I think that's definitely one of the worst things you can do. So if you can slow the whole process down, provide an experience for the client from the minute they walk into your offices. And it's the same with the broker as well. He meets the broker or the buyer meets the broker. You have to create that experience. And it has to be really good. And you have to know what you're talking about.
Steven, what an effective sales cycle is as per you?
That's an interesting question, Shristi, because I can tell you that there are people that I have been talking to for 5 to 10 years who have not bought property yet. But they will. And I keep talking to them. So we meet in Dubai, they travel, etc. And then you have people, I had a story last week, actually. One of my colleagues, he had a house for sale. I think it was around 24 million dirhams. The agent, he had about 10 properties that they were going to show them. Second property, they walked into it. The timing was around 25 seconds. And the client said, right, I'll have this.
Really?
Everybody ever joins my company and joins my team. The thing that I tell all of them is you just need patience. Patience is all you need. If you've got the patience and you carry on talking to these guys and you keep speaking to them, I can assure you that 99% of all the other agents would have left them. And you're left with the person. And if you do a good job, that client will stick with you. Sales cycles, I would love to say that they take a week, 2 weeks, a month.
Even more.
This week, I've been out with the client. I spent a whole day with them a couple of days ago. And they called me the next day and said, thanks very much. Had a great day. We want to buy this. And I'll go, okay. I didn't expect that. But that was a day's work. So I don't really have a fixed sales. But when you have a sales process and things do take time for every now and again, I think the secret is to follow up. It's not about sort of calling them every day. It's not about sending them WhatsApp messages every day. It's about understanding how often that you can ask the client, how often do you want me to talk to you? What do you need from me?
I think that's a great question, that what a client needs from you.
Yeah,
eventually.
Exactly. I send my clients little snippets of news about Dubai, send them the news about road extension, new rules, new laws. Just send them little snippets. It doesn't have to be necessarily about property. It's about selling the story about Dubai.
I'll put it this way, that how to not be spammy and still give updates about the property on the developer. Because I've seen it so many times. Like I get so many messages and calls and people just selling me things which I don't want to buy, giving me updates which I don't want to hear. But sometimes, interestingly, I do get fascinated when someone sends me a construction update or someone tells me that, oh, now this developer has a new project in a brand new area. Probably, let's say I was looking for a 2-bedroom. Earlier, they were trying to sell me a villa.
Do you remember that project we saw? That's sold out, but this company, that developer, has now got another project. Is that something that you might be interested in? Would you like some more information? always asking for permission as far as I'm concerned. Permission to send them information. And even sometimes with these ultra-high net worth individuals, you have to ask them permission to even call them.
Yes, exactly.
I'm free next Thursday. Are you free next Thursday? It would be great to have a chat about 11 o'clock just to get an update of what you're thinking.
And what other kind of updates you think a developer can give or a broker can give? For example, at Arista, every month we send a construction updates to all our buyers and all our broker agents, just to tell them that what's going on with this project.
Yeah, if every developer did that, my job would be a hell of a lot easier. Because what I have to do is I have to chase for this information all the time. And that's just the kind of information I'm sending to clients. Once they've purchased a property, I try and keep in touch with them. I have a rule that's sort of every 2 to 3 months, I call them, contact them, I give them some information about what they bought, or maybe another building that is near what they've bought, so that they get an understanding of what the market is looking like, and they're continuously updating people. And what you'll find as well is, believing me, they will refer you to other people without you even asking. And they will buy again from you as well. And you've done all that hard work.
Yeah.
And then you just sell them something and then just walk away. You should never do that, because that's gold. You've done all the hard work. Let's just build on that. If there was any takeaway from being a good agent, I think it's understanding and working in the long term, with a long-term view, rather than just thinking of it as one deal, running away and walking away and leaving the client. Keep going, keep going. I've got stories of selling people studios and 2 or 3 months later buying floors from me. It does happen.
Steven, you have done about 2 billion worth of sales in this market. What's your advice for the new real estate agents who want to achieve the same?
Apart from waiting 20 years to do it, I don't think that's a good idea. I think patience, building a story about Dubai, understanding the history and where the future is of Dubai is so important. We talk about passion in the business, and you've really got to love what you do. There's not a day I wake up and think, I don't want to go to work today.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's a beautiful thing
it's
to
my
say.
first job ever. I love this business. I love this country. I love the city. I love everything I do is brilliant. And yes, the money is a bonus. Stop thinking about all the money you're going to make.
Stop chasing money.
Stop chasing money, exactly. Money will come. Get your knowledge, build trust with your clients, and understand the market. And I don't just mean the property market. I mean everything to do with Dubai. If you tell a client something which isn't right or incorrect, that client knows the correct answer. He's not going to believe anything else you say.
Lose your credibility.
You lose all your credibility. So knowing about Dubai, knowing about the market, knowing who's in charge, telling a story about Dubai. Don't try and change the process.
Don't skip the steps.
Don't skip the steps, exactly. And don't try and do something that no one else has done before, in my opinion. Stick to the process.
Stick to the process. Do the basic work.
When you've been doing this for many years, like me maybe, without sounding arrogant, that is when you can probably not follow the process, because you have the confidence, maybe you've got some more money in the bank, and you've got a good amount of clients, then that's when you can maybe go off-piste. But until that time, stick to the process, be patient. Oh, and the most important thing, don't spend all your money on brunches.
Thank you, Steven. It was wonderful meeting you, and thank you for sharing so many valuable insights on luxury real estate market, off-plan, sales tactics. I believe the real estate brokers, everybody's going to love it. And I hope to see you again and learn from you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
For our listeners, we hope this episode was exciting and valuable to you. Stay tuned for our next episode of Beyond Luxury by Arista Properties.